Many thanks for making time on the marketplace today. Welcome back. Now, some currency treasurers and dealers are attributing the cedi's marginal stability to improved Bank of Ghana supply and expectation things will improve soon. There's more in this report.
The local currency has been fairly stable against the dollar, trading over the past week and even in some cases appreciating marginally against the dollar. Today, the cedi is currently selling at around 4 cedis 91 pesos compared to 4 cedis 99 pesos some 2 weeks ago. This comes at a time when the local currency virtually depreciated every day on the interbank market. According to the dealers, the promise of the Bank of Ghana to push all the cocoa syndication loan onto the market to support the cedi has also contributed to the cedi's upward performance. This has gone a long way to deal with fears that the cedi could start depreciating again despite its marginal stability. The local currency is at September depreciated by more than 7% based on quotes from Bloomberg and some commercial banks. However, recent developments may slow the depreciation and rate at which the cedi fluctuates at the local level, especially when Ghana is documented to be an import-led economy.
Now, players in the rural banking industry say it is critical for them to boost confidence in the sector in these challenging times. Board chairman of Amenfi Rural Bank, Dr. Tony Orbin, says it is high time rural banks support their depositors. He spoke to Live Business during the launch of the third branch of the bank at Swami Magazine, a suburb of Kumasi. Prince Appiah has more in this report.
The continuous collapse of financial institutions in the country has resulted in decline of confidence in the sector and fear among depositors. The hardest hits often are artisans and traders in the informal sector. Chairman of the Association of Garages at the Swami Magazine, Osei Bunsu, says they are perturbed by the continuous collapse of financial institutions in the country. Magazine is a place where most people have lost their capital and deposits to different financial institutions that had come here to do business. But we have realized the rural banks are different and we'll try them.
Na the modern adini at least yahu say enya dia obedi esika ebedwane se de esi da bia etasi wa hano.
He spoke to Love Business during the launch of the Swami branch of Amenfi Rural Bank. It becomes the third branch in the Ashanti region. Chief Executive of the bank, Dr. Alex Asma, says the bank is employing a new mechanism to help enhance the business of artisans and traders within the enclave.
The way customers are served, this area, people are extremely busy. People do not have my time to be queuing up in a bank, and so we have a strategy to be able to serve this. And also we have seen that people here are business people and they require specific attention that addresses their business needs. So we have not come here with a global product. That's whatever product that is used to serve customers elsewhere must be fit for all. So we have carefully studied all of these and we have developed appropriate products and services that respond to the market here. So
Amenfi Rural Bank is the first rural bank that met the Bank of Ghana's minimum capital requirement of 1 million Ghana cedis. It is the only bank that has branches across the three regions, Ashanti, Central and Western regions, due to its strong capital base. Board chairman of the bank, Dr. Tony Orbin, says this puts the bank in the right stead to support the industry and those in the informal sector.
Our confidence as Amenfi Rural Bank stems from the fact that we are a solid bank. We have a solid capital base in that. So I think these combine to provide a solid belief that we can withstand the current turbulence that's going on.
Prince Appiah reporting.
It's live on the marketplace, and the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry has described the much talked about cargo tracking note system as a rushed decision by the government. The CTN came to force on Monday amid protests by business operators, which was led by the freight forwarders, the Importers and Exporters Association, and the Ghana Union of Traders Association (GUTA). Addressing the media, President of the Chamber, who was also the board chair of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, says broader consultation needed to have been done. Charles Aiti has more on this.
It's been barely a day since the cargo tracking note model was introduced, and all too soon business associations have kicked against this move, saying that the entire process was rushed.
Ports and Harbours Authority, even though it's a government agency or authority, I want to say that some of these things, they are not aware. I am on the board of GPHA, and this CTN was not discussed even at the board level. Why? So we could have waited and taken all the stakeholders through this process so that we all buy into it and then move it. For me as a person, let me tell you, if it were for the objective that was set by the Commissioner of GRA, we could have given out incentives instead, so that everybody will go by it and they will get the true picture or the data that we needed. And if GRA was doing it themselves so that they could get the money themselves to, improve the system or the economy, that could also be another thing. But this one, it is being implemented through an agent or a third party. That is where the agitation is coming from.
We got in touch with the president, who also says that this new cargo tracking note will in the long run affect trading businesses in Ghana, especially the efficiency at the ports and the cost of doing business in the country.
We have to look at the whole thing holistically and see imposing this on us will not augur well for us. For the trading community, we say we are not accepting any imposition with regard with quotas, registration, going for a code, going to apply for exemption and all that. We are not going to do any such thing, seriously. And so I will entreat all the trading public, especially those who belong to GUTA and the other stakeholder grouping, to start organizing emergency meetings and then bring their feedback to us so that we know what to do as soon as possible.
Well, so far, government has stated that the introduction of the cargo tracking notes will, in the long run, improve revenue mobilization and risk management at the ports. But business associations are still insisting the need for broader consultation, as well as the consideration of the cost that this could incur on them in the longer future. I'm Charles Aita reporting for Joy Business.
It's live on the marketplace now, and a greater number of Ghanaians would want the government to focus on the economy. That's according to a poll conducted by iPoll-GH, a polling and research application. The survey reveals that 54% of Ghanaians would want government to focus on the economy rather than health and security issues. Joining me in the studio now to discuss the outcome of the poll is Dr. Kobi Mensah, Senior Lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Doc, you're welcome to the marketplace.
Thank you for having me, man.
Now, iPoll-GH, what exactly is it, and what does it seek to achieve?
Right. Well, we decided to come up with a platform or a capability that can give us 360 degrees, look into the country, because you realize that when we're discussing policy issues, when we're discussing whether people support or do not support a particular issue, we're always conjecturing. Now, it is then, dawned on me that no, we need to have a capability. Okay. Obviously, we know that Benefson has been doing, some in the polling here and there, but I thought that we can also go a step further by introducing, technology that we can, have the ability to actually sample larger opinions within a very short period of time. So from that, perspectives, we decided to come up with
1,072 sample to me is quite small. I mean, why didn't you expand further? And exactly.
Of course, I think statistically it's not small, but of course I'm not going to go into that point. But I think that you're right. We have about 15 million voters. So we just launched it with our hope that we can actually promote iPoll across the country, so that quite a number of people can actually sign up, and then we'll be able to sample quite a large number of opinions within a short period of time. So we have just launched it, and we just started to do the kind of necessary thing that we need to do to reach a lot more people, so that a lot more people can make their voices heard.
You don't think the number of demographics could have an effect on the outcome of the report?
Oh, certainly. But if you have, obviously because it's a new one, so you see that Greater Accra, for example, is largely represented over there in the numbers, and of course Tamale, and then of course you have what you call a voter, etc. But we're saying that because it's been launched now, we need to do certain activities to get it very much on in every corner of this country. That's what we're aiming at. But if we look at the representation, even those that were captured, you see that the idea that the opinions of very many people actually reflect the dominant opinion already, which means that the poll is actually working.
All right, so I know you asked a whole lot of questions, but we want to focus on two for the sake of the program. Now, the first one you asked, which one of these areas must government focus on to make Ghana a better country? Now, the number, the respondents were quite huge, and they're all saying economy.
Yeah.
The majority of the respondents in all the demographics that the age brackets are focusing on economy to make Ghana a better place. What's your take on this particular
Well, I think
question?
that one time we were discussing, myself and one of my colleagues, professors, were discussing it. The idea that we have moved into a very individualistic society. Right? People want to see exactly what government policy means for their pocket. So you see that although issues like infrastructure are actually economic issues, people actually narrow down to what exactly they can get, and that's where the economy becomes the most predominant. In terms of what people think government must focus on.
Now, when they say economy, what exactly do they mean, or do they want out of the economy?
We didn't actually ask that question, but of course that's some of the questions that we could ask. And I was actually thinking, if we had actually put in, let's say, jobs, for example, as opposed to sanitation, would it have changed the dynamics? And I think that certainly it would have been, because people, when they talk about economy, they're looking at money in their pocket, which means that if you actually put in jobs, then of course you will see the dynamics changing, perhaps jobs becoming the most thing that people think about, as opposed to maybe economy, for example. So yeah, it looks like the more micro you go into people's needs, the more preferred people will take it. So
and once again, coming back to the sample size, you don't think that if you had a wider sampling or sample method, you don't think it could have also changed?
Certainly it can actually change the dynamics, but we're saying that when you put 1,000 plus, it's enough statistically, to test. But of course, the imbalance is what I'm talking about.
So what was your methodology? Did you just do, random sampling, or
it is an online, it's an online platform. It's a very, IT-based platform. So what we did was, because it's a new platform, we were, kind of promoting it on social media, boosting it, and then circulating it on, WhatsApp platforms, for people to answer that. But of course, as we have, launched it now, we're trying to find a way that we can, get it penetrated across, the population, to have a very good distribution. And let me say that you have to download the app and then register. So once you download the app and register, we're able to ensure that this particular respondent is coming from this area, and then we have a question that you're supposed to answer, whether you're based in Accra, you're based in Kumasi, etc. So with these micro level information, or these biodata, we're able to establish who is where. But like I said, as the app is showing up, we now know that we have the capability to sample quite a number of people. So we're now going to push it further down the line to make sure that we can have some balances in terms of regional distribution, or in terms of national distribution. For us
let's go now to the second question, which is quite interesting. It says, do you support the government's plans to engage in a barter deal with China? And a clear majority, you are saying, of respondents were against the idea of government using our natural resources in a barter agreement with China, reflecting increasing concerns about the motivations behind China's Africa policy and Ghana's own debt vulnerabilities.
Again, it's a reflection of the dominant view. When government announced that we're going to China, a lot of expert opinion actually says that was the wrong way to go. And we have actually discussed it predominantly in the media.
Exactly.
Now we said, okay, let us find out what people are actually thinking. And clearly, it actually fell on the dominant view that people do not want, China or any better deal with China. I think that it actually sits on the worry that people have, which we have said it over and over again. I mean, certain countries, we've seen the kind of influence China is having, and most of our partners have actually expressed the kind of worry that, and I think that some of these discussions actually seeping through. People think that we will lose our sovereignty, so to speak. We will lose our influence in our own lives, having a better system with China. And I think it is fairly reflected, from the expert opinion position, and it's fairly reflected, amongst the people.
So beyond this survey now, what do you expect, government or any other institution to put to use this?
I think that now we have the capability to really see how fast or how deep issues are to the people. I mean, we've been conjecturing, and sometimes, depending on where you sit, we say, oh, Ghanaians want this, or Ghanaians don't want this. Now we have the capability to actually reflect on what really Ghanaians want. And then, of course, government policies or opposition parties could actually use it for policy formulation, and particularly for political communication, because when they are communicated, they don't know how to segment. I mean, we don't know which segment would want what message. Clearly, if we have this particular poll, which helps us to drill down on demographics, we can know that, yes, these age groups actually are in favor of. It was surprising to see that Brong-Ahafo actually went in a double track. Wow. It was surprising to see that Western region, amongst the people who responded to the poll, actually are split on double track. But the predominant view is people don't want double track, which means that this particular poll can let us segment the message and know where do we say what, and which is very crucial.
So how do you come by your questions? I mean, did you just...
We asked journalists, a lot of your colleagues actually contributed to that. We asked journalists to tell us what do they think are the most dominant themes that we should actually frame the questions. And a lot of people brought in their views. And then we refined them, sent it back to these journalists, and then they refined it and then sent it back to before we actually uploaded it. So we had people vetting the questions, and then making sure that we have a very refined questions to be posted.
So when do you expect the next poll to be conducted?
Very soon. We're going to actually start the next poll very, very soon. And it's going to be on the NDC's leadership, because obviously they're going to have a leadership contest, national leadership contest. So we're going to test which of these, people putting themselves,
the candidates,
their candidate, who do they want to see? Then of course, when we get into the following year, we start, polling on the issues, their popularity, etc.
You don't want to do anything economy again?
Of course, we'll be doing that. So we'll be doing all those, but we're lining up certain topical issues as and when we reflect on the national mood.
Many thanks for your time, Dr. Kobi Mensah.
Thank you so much for having me.
He is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. We've been talking about the iPoll GH survey, which was released recently. Away from that, Ghana's ambassador to Ghana, Dr. Berwier J, is worried several companies which exported under the AGWA program have collapsed and are unable to take advantage of the trade agreement. Dr. Bafwe J. Berwier is admonishing government to revive the companies under the One District, One Factory initiative.
AGWA has, I think, 4 or 5 years to run. And admittedly, Ghana hasn't taken a very good opportunity of that. So we are trying to, improve on that. And in fact, I can, even mention that at the moment, my wife is seriously involved in shirt production, for shipment to the States under the aegis of AGWA. But the thing is, we ought to be able to encourage more Ghanaian producers to do this. For instance, there is a difficulty in the textile area, because I understand there is a certain variety of textile called high target that a lot of the women do, sell, and they are used in production, producing a lot of the Ghanaian materials. But then, the high target is imported from China. And my understanding is that most of those who import them actually import them with their own hard cash. So, if that is the case, why aren't we getting those women to invest in, the Tema factory or even I understand at the moment the government has taken over Acotex. Why don't we, in that case, get the same women to put that investment to regenerate those factories, do the production, and get us to put products on the market in America, because it will mean that one will provide jobs. It will mean that at least we can be assured of the production line and the quantities, because if you want to do that kind of promotion, you are not going to sell 500 shirts and then for the next 7 months nobody hears about you. The purchasers, who are themselves big time merchandising companies, are not going to be very comfortable with that. So I think we would also have to review what is it that we have, and then try to improve on the production levels.
The Upper West region has received a significant boost in pharmaceutical investments. This is as a result of the establishment of a pharmaceutical outlet, Pills Pharmacy Ghana Limited. The company, which has been opened in Wa, is expected to serve the interest of residents of the regional capital. The branch will significantly lessen the burden of doctors and patients, as there was no such facility until now. Rafiq Salam was at the launch and our reports.
Much as the over 700,000 residents of the Upper West region grapple to have access to quality medical care due to the inadequacy of hospitals and clinics, so is it with pharmacy services. As a result of that, patients who attended hospitals and clinics and had medicines and drugs prescribed for them had to travel out of the region to buy. However, all will come to pass with the opening of the Upper West branch of Pills Pharmaceuticals in Wa. Barbara Uzuchi is the head of retail at Pills Pharmaceuticals.
Of this facility is going to end the trauma of prescribers and patients go through to get medications from other regions at higher cost. The launch of this facility is going to give the people of the Upper West region the privilege of enjoying world-class service at an affordable price. We are introducing excellent customer service to our clients. Our staff are friendly, professional in their duties.
She spoke of the benefits that the people in the region will get from the opening of this latest branch in the country. Deputy Director of Pharmaceutical Services of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Mary Sang, welcomed with open arms the opening of Pills Pharmaceuticals, as it will complement their work at hospitals and clinics in the region.
It will improve the stocking and drug supply in the hospital. Or there are times we need certain drugs, we can't get them anywhere. You have to call Kumasi, Accra or Tamale before you can get it. But if we have a big company here that can always come to our aid when we are in distress, I mean, it's a plus.
Area head of Pentecost Church in Wa, Apostle Robert Ando, charged officials of the pharmaceutical company to work assiduously to up their game in the industry.
If they have to travel to Kumasi or Accra for drugs, once these people are here, they should patronize it so that it will help all of us. And then others who may need it, bulk purchases could as well also use the place. If they do.
And just before we go, government has shortlisted 6 out of 20 companies that submitted bids to redevelop the Tema Shipyard and Dry Dock facility into a world-class structure. Speaking at a pre-proposal bidding conference for selected strategic investors, Minister for Transport Kwekufo Siama noted the selected partner will be given the necessary support to invest in modern technology to make the facility a world-class one.
Almost all of them are present here. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning pre-proposal conference is therefore part of the processes to give opportunity to the shortlisted firm to seek clarification on issues regarding the bidding process. Indeed, I understand that a tour of the shipyard has been planned after this session for those who want to see the shipyard to label them ascertain at the first hand the state of the facility of our yard. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the expectation of government that the private partner that will be selected at the end of the solicitation processes will partner government to bring about the needed technology and investment that would eventually lead to the scale-up facilities at the yard. For the oil and gas activities in Ghana, the shipyard is well positioned to take advantage of the opportunities and help to promote local content and improve Ghana's competitiveness in West Africa offshore oil and gas industry.
And here we end the marketplace for today. Many thanks for your company. My name is Emmanuel Apuachi. Let's meet again, same time tomorrow. Have a good afternoon.